Free your mind. Open your heart. Tap into your power. You're listening to The Multidimensional Mother with Alex Troniak.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Multidimensional Mother podcast. I am Alex Troniak, your host. Today, I have a new friend on this episode. Her name is Jodi Neufeld, and Jodi is a practical intuitive. I'm going to read you her bio first and tell you a little connection story afterwards. Jodi is a practical intuitive who uses energetics to empower and guide one into a deeper connection with self. She offers readings and mediumship as well as spiritual healings. I stumbled on Jodi's Instagram page not long ago. I felt a resonance to her content immediately, and I shared one of her reels actually, and then I pondered your page and saw that you had recently offered something in regards to the sacred feminine, and I had just done my Love Your Period masterclass, and immediately I was like, girl, we're speaking the same language. I want to get to know you better, but I also feel so called to record the conversation. I think there's going to be a lot of nuggets and of gold to share and to exchange with each other. So we're new friends. We haven't, I've like wanted to get to know you, but I've almost been saving it for this space and opportunity. Um, you're a mother, you're a spiritual woman, and I actually had no idea where you lived, and I found out you live only a couple hours from me. So it's kind of wild how the universe works, how the algorithm works. But here we are. I am so excited and happy to welcome you, Jodi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yay. I would love, so you did just wrap up your offering, your Sacred Femme offering. Do you want to go a little bit into that? And then I would love to hear a bit of your background story as well. We can get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my first 4-week container. My first, I guess it's sort of like a course, but I wasn't calling it a course. We met every week online, and the whole premise is just, I think that all people live in their masculine energy a little too much. We all have masculine and feminine energy, but a lot of us live in our masculine more often than we should, in my opinion. So this is all coming back to the sacred feminine. And for women, and this whole group was mothers, a lot of it is just like learning how to come back to yourself and stop being the person that just does and stays busy and to-do lists, and come back to like your body, your intuition, your emotions, your, the very essence of you, when we're all just, especially mothers, are just trying to do everything for everybody else and keep up with everything and be these super women. And, we're not super women. We are human beings that need love and attention as well. So it was just a sacred feminine is this idea of learning how to come back to ourselves with these simple rituals and tools on how to do so.
Okay, I love that. What a beautiful offering. I feel like such resonance into everything you're saying, and yeah, just a very natural, yes, we're speaking the same language. We're seeking to offer the same type of things to women and acknowledge that there is this like invisible expectation on us. And it's, to me, I describe it as like people perceive it as like a given. It's a given that the mom will cook. It's a given that the mom will pick up the kids. It's a given, all these things that are just like, of course, it's built into the model or whatever. But those don't go without energy exchange. Those don't go without um, just time, money, energy, all of that. And so I love that you are acknowledging women in their motherhood, especially. But yeah, I think we are on the same kind of path. Before we get into more questions regarding the path, do you want to give a little bit of a background on who you are, kind of your upbringing, what brought you to where you are today? Take your time.
Yeah,
A big one. Take your time.
Big story, so I'll cold note it for you. I am like, as for what I do, I'm originally an artist and I'm actually an art teacher every once in a while. I'm contracted out as an art teacher, but I'm a photographer. I took photography in school, and up until kind of very recently, I've been spending my time painting. And then I've gone through a lot of loss. My entire family has changed. I met the man of my dreams, which I didn't know he was the man of my dreams about 12 years ago, right when my mom was actually dying.
Mm.
And somehow continued to, stay with him and build a life. And we have two amazing children, and we built our own house. And so throughout a lot of the pain and suffering and loss and trauma, there's just been this like beautiful side. Like I've continued to build this beautiful life with him and get to do the things that I wanted to do. And it wasn't until a couple years ago that I really took my healing and my coming back to myself more seriously, when I was in a safer place to do so. And I got my first reading done.
You went to a medium, or?
I went to an Akashic Records reader.
Oh.
She instantly saw into my heart. I've never felt so seen. And this is coming from a person who has been in therapy for years for all of the stuff I've gone through. And it just felt like it was like instantly she knew what I was going through. And yeah, I've never felt so seen. So I kind of just explored that a little bit more. And I went to a retreat with her. And I found out just more about this energetics and how to protect your energy. And, I proverbially drank the Kool-Aid and thought, oh my God, this is amazing. And why haven't I thought of this? And then, yeah, I went down the spiritual route. And now my gifts showed up really quickly and easily. And I've been navigating this awakening. And I'm still an artist, but this is definitely my passion right now and what I'm spending most of my time on and working with. So it's been a bit of a wild and bumpy ride, but I feel more grounded than I've ever felt. So
Wow.
yeah.
I want to kind of back up a bit because there will be a lot of people who have no idea what the Akashic records are.
Yeah.
So first, do you want to describe that, explain it a bit more through your experience and what you know as well?
Absolutely. I had no idea what the Akashic records were either. They are they are a record of every soul's existence in past, present, and future. And it's in this realm above us. So it's accessible through meditation, through being in the right energy for it. Some people use prayer to get there, but it's in this realm above us, and it holds every single soul's whole existence. So everything past, present, future. You can access past lives, you can access future self, you can access inner child. It's basically your soul's library is up there, and everything is accessible to the reader. Generally, not everything, but everything your soul is meant to know is accessible.
Mhm. How did you find her, and how did you know, Akashic record, like that's giving me a ping, like how did that happen?
I knew her because she was actually a yoga instructor before in my community. She actually was my mom and baby and prenatal yoga instructor.
Oh,
So I had followed her on Instagram, and I saw this change in her and what she was doing, and I didn't understand it, but something I guess universe stepped in and told me to get a reading because I had no idea what it was. But
wow. And so now, when was that you did that first Akashic reading?
like 2.5 years ago, 2 and a bit years ago.
And you felt a breakthrough. Is there something you can share or want to share in what you saw or experienced in it, in your own uh, session with it that first time?
Oh, in my first session with it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is the first, and we did it over Zoom, and I thought I thought to myself, like, how can she access my energy over Zoom like this? I was so skeptical. It's so funny because, but as soon as we started with breath, and as soon as she opened her eyes to talk to me, she just said, I see this like cloud of sadness around your heart. And I instantly just started crying because, again, I've never felt like there was a cloud of sadness around my heart. I had been through so much and not allowed myself to recognize it or move through it. And so that stands out the most. But just everything she said resonated with me. She knew exactly what tools I needed to use, and my soul knew it too. So basically, a reading just offers confirmation of what you already know, which allows you to feel more validated in like these thoughts you're having, or like, oh, I should, if you're feeling like, oh, I should be exploring this, and then the reader is like, this is something you should be doing, and it's kind of just like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm right. It's just so the reader is just reading what your soul wants you to know, and she just knew exactly what I needed without even knowing what I had gone through, and that was incredible to me. So
That's so beautiful that she was able to tap in and validate that for you. I feel like that's such a the maybe that's the biggest part of healing is just like you acknowledging it, and maybe others too, but mainly you acknowledging and seeing it. And then once you can see it, validate it, you can move through it and move beyond it.
yeah, I would agree.
I'm familiar with like QHHT. I haven't done it myself, but I've read a lot on it. And they talk about QHHT is quantum healing hypnosis technique. Have you heard of it?
I've never heard of it. I think it's similar to what
Yeah,
the
yeah, definitely. I think the premise of it is the regressioner or the hypnotist brings you under into a hypnotic state and then accesses your soul, your higher self. And they don't talk so much about the Akashic records all the time. It's more like having that conversation with your higher self. Um, to see, well, what's causing this what stagnancy or pattern, whatever. And so often it's like, well, there was some sort of trauma in a past life, and once you see it and hear that story, then you're like, okay, got it. Then you can move through it on this life, and it's like major quantum healing takes place.
absolutely.
I definitely I it's ever fascinating to me. um but it does sound like a similar thing. So what's your journey been like on honing that skill for yourself?
I've never really been able to say this, but it like just came really easily to me. It came really easily. I had to get, the hardest part about it was me getting my ego, my thoughts, my logical self out of the way to receive. But once I was able to do that, it's been quite easy and kind of natural for me to like instantly get to the records. I've seen and witnessed like all the time. I see past dead people. I see dead people all the time, which I didn't understand at first. So like obviously if I'd
Go into that more.
I mean, even just saying that out loud, I'm like, oh my God, I sound like that kid off of The Sixth Sense. But like, yeah,
Experience.
so people in spirit realm come really easily to me. What I've coming to recognize, although it's taken a long time to wrap my head around it, is that I've done this for lifetimes already. This is like, even I got this astrological reading done, astrology reading, and she said I have some kind of, I don't know astrology, like I'm interested in it, but I don't know it. But I have some grand trine that shows that I've been doing this work my whole life. And it's like my life's purpose, which resonates with me just because this is a job, this is work that I've done that I've never, like, that's just felt good and easy and seamless and effortless, as opposed to all the other jobs that I've done that I've maybe enjoyed, but it felt like a slog or it felt hard to do. Like this just comes easily and naturally to me, which is amazing, but also I've had to learn how to hone it in. And
Yeah.
I, before this started showing up for me, I didn't necessarily believe in any of these things. So
Tell me about that. Like, yeah, tell me about the experience from going to from not really being a believer to experiencing it. Like, what was that like? Because there's a whole paradigm shift that has to happen. What was it like to live with that through that experience?
Um, I'd say it was rocky, and I've had questions of like, I was questioning my mental health a few times.
Yeah.
Like when it first started, I started seeing visions, and luckily at that point I had already had a reading, so I had and she's my mentor, to reach out to her to talk to her about it. And
Like,
but
were you seeing them waking or sleeping? Like, what do you mean you're seeing it?
awake, yeah, which made me just feel like I was crazy at first, and like didn't, because it wouldn't go away either. And I am a very, like, I'm a Virgo, I'm very grounded, I'm very on this earth, I'm very aware of my body and what I'm going through. And I would say logic has driven most of my decisions in my life. So to have this stuff kind of start happening to me, and it's so unseen and you can't understand it, right? Like, you know, and nobody's taught me about
No
it.
guidebook, no one's talking. Yeah.
No, I didn't grow up in this place of people believing in this stuff or even talking about it. So luckily I had some major guidance from my mentor. And, you know, I actually have a therapist that my therapist now is in this work too, and she understands it. So that also, I needed women and people in my life that I looked up to, that were smart, intellectual, grounded, to also say, you know, oh, this is real. Like this, I believe in this too, and make me feel like, okay, this is real. And I also needed tons of evidence. I needed evidence. So I sought mediumship. I got a mediumship reading done, and she knew all of these personal details, including like the chair that was in my grandmother's house. Like, so that the evidence has eased my logical mind, but I still get into those places of like, what does this even mean? How does this even make sense? But I don't know if it's ever something you'll completely make sense of either. Do
Mm.
you, what
I
has your experience been with that?
I hear you on everything. I am not seeing dead people, but I can hear
Mhm.
hear them. But it's been not as common and been ones that I basically am like in meditation and call in their energy kind of. And then
Yeah,
there's like this back and forth conversation. I can hear their voice. And even this, like it's scary to admit it because most people don't experience this. Or if they do, they kind of suppress it, deny it, put it away because the way we've been programmed to function in this society didn't make room for that. Didn't There was no space for that. There was no confirming the truth of it or like validity of it. And so here we are in our 30s being like doing our own research and digging because it's resonant and it's curious and it's interesting and it's strange and I have an insatiable thirst for knowledge and wisdom regarding all of this. And the more I dive into learning about souls, past lives, Akashic records, healing, energy, all of that, the more I see how connected it is, how real it is, how ancient it is. Um, and then when you learn all that, it's like that's your awakening. You awaken to the fact that, oh, there's so much more beyond what we can see, feel, taste, touch.
absolutely.
And we are so like rigid in our physical experience that we are like only the physical things are real. But
Really.
then you're like, well, what about all these millions of stories? Like, like, are they all trying to play a joke on us? It's like, I don't know about that. Like, why it's and then you kind of have that, well, why? Why was this not shared with us?
Yeah,
Why like and then it's like to me like it always comes back to the witch wound. And
absolutely.
and there would have been a time in the civilization that they were like, we don't like how much power women have. It's scaring us. We don't have that same ability. The only way that we can handle this is to kill it out. And
Absolutely.
that lives in us now. like the trauma of that lives in us, and it comes through in people pleasing, it comes through in not speaking your truth, it comes through in being afraid to be your authentic self. So like I see us being brave, going in the direction of the complete unknown and somewhat dark. It's dark in that we are the ones your focus and attention is what's shining the light on it to illuminate, oh wow, that's there, that's real. But it's in the dark in that it's been put in a closet by our society.
Absolutely.
And so
And
when
it's
you uncover it, you are like, am I crazy? What's going on? You question everything.
question everything. Well, and what I'm coming to terms with is like this this is something there's never going to be evidence for. There's never going to be physical evidence for
Because it's not physical.
because it's unseen. It's unseen. It's this, and like, and people want tangibility, even though like I come back to like, how do cell phones actually work? Like that seems wild and bizarre to me, but everybody believes in it. Like obviously there's some kind of, but like just the fact that these things, there's more things out there that are unexplainable.
Yes.
People are so obsessed with having it being explained. But well, all I'm trying to say is like, for me, I need to keep saying, there's no evidence for this. And if I talk about this, some people are going to think I'm crazy, but I need to trust in myself and these pieces of evidence that I have clearly gotten to know that it's real. Like I've shared this whole journey with my husband, who also didn't believe in any of this before, and he doesn't witness these things like I do, but now he's like, you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. So now his beliefs are shifting, because like, how can it not when you start to witness and experience these things, or go for a reading and get some information given to you by a complete stranger that they would have had no idea about? Like, and why not believe in magic? Why not believe in these like bigger concepts? Like, doesn't that give you hope?
Yeah,
Make you
100%.
feel a little bit more comfortable about being a human, because being a human is hard.
It totally is. This is a dense realm. Everything I've learned about Earth is like we come here for the physical experience, which is like on one side, it's like, yeah, everyone's focused on the physical. Well, that's exactly why we're here. We're here to be human physical beings. And so I kind of get that like fascination with just the physical, and anything outside of that like can't be. But we see like less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. And you just got to sit with that and be like, okay, be aware that you are, I read the Seth books. Are you familiar with Jane Roberts and Seth books? So the Seth books are this woman, her name is Jane Roberts, and in the 70s, she started to hone in on her telepathic powers as well, ESP, and she had a Ouija board, and one night an entity came through and it's like, I'm Seth and I want to write a book. Like I'm gonna like he comes through her, and at first like that was the way that she got into trance, but after a while she could like just get into it quite easily. And then her husband would transcribe everything that Seth was coming through and saying. And I am aware that a lot of people who are like new to this kind of realm are going to be like, what? But she was a channel. So she was able to change her vibration to bring in the energy of this. He refers to himself as a personality, and his mission is basically to really detail what our reality actually looks like or like actually how it actually functions. They're fascinating books, and actually my nana, my grandmother, who's still alive, she's 88, she gave me this book, and it's underlined, and she read it in her 30s in the 70s. So I just feel this like it's just amazing. The book is mind-bending. I can't even remember where I was starting into that, but I wanted to ask you, how has this awakening affected your marriage and having like with your kids? How has it shifted things in your home like that?
Yeah, I'd say overall it's shifted it for like way better, because I've found myself more than I've been in my more authentic self in the last 2.5 years more than ever, even though it felt clunky and clumsy and It's opened me up to my healing. It's opened me up to letting go. It's opened me up to these wild and crazy inner childhood healings that have changed my life that therapy could never have done. And in turn, and I have all these practices now and rituals that help me come back to myself. So I'm a better mom and I'm a better wife. And I'd say overall, I've been really lucky because I have a very supportive husband, because I have a few girlfriends that have dabbled in this stuff that their husbands are just not believers. And I think it's not that they don't support them, but they're just like, what is she up to? Whereas my husband has been quite a bit just like, tell me more, and I'm excited for you. And yeah, I would say it's just affected my life for the better overall.
That's amazing. I think that's such a good point to note too, and like having support. And if it's not a husband, maybe it's like your friends who are on the same page. So I feel myself flocking, like calling in these women who are like minded, resonant, open-minded, on the path is how we talk about it. But 100% having a husband who can not reject it is huge, because it is for them. Like I think as a woman, we are really ingrained and like set up for intuition. We've got a portal on our bodies. Like we're meant to be like the knowers and the wisdom holders. Like the world was a matriarchy much more and much longer than it was a patriarchy. And a shift is occurring, and it's really amazing to be alive at this time. And I think we're here at this time for a reason. I just also want to point out, like, look at our candles, like-mindedness. When you said 2.5 years, I'm like, that's when my mind started to really open up in ways that I had never expected or experienced before.
Has
Um,
your husband been supportive?
Super supportive, and his mom was really woo woo, and
Oh, cool.
bless her, Betty. She passed away in 2020, but she had Seth books also. She was very spiritual, so I feel like she walked so I could run. Like set this groundwork, so it's not like so unfamiliar to Mark to experience or be around a woman who's spiritual and doing things really differently and tuning into energy and yeah, experiencing intuitive things. And my husband's quite intuitive as well. So, and that would have been nice to have a mom who made space for it. That's also what I want to ask you about. Like, how has your awakening allowed for you to, I don't know, change how your children experience intuition, energy, all that stuff? Yeah, what do you want to share there?
Yeah, my kids, my youngest definitely feels energy
How old are they, by the way?
and sorry.
How old are they, by the way?
Oh, my boy is 9 and my girl is 5, and she's the one that really feels energy. Her and I, before I got into this work, our energy would just stack and escalate together. Like she's very, very attached to me. She feels my energy, I feel her energy, and that could create madness in our house, really, especially when she was really upset or I was upset. My boy is very into this. He's like, thinks I'm so cool and magical. He gave me this sticker that says "You are magical," which is so cute. He was like, this is you, mom, literally and figuratively. um,
They're so
so,
special.
so go ahead.
I said the kids are so special. Like,
So special. And so they've been really open. So I've been teaching them how to protect their energy before they go to school. And they're open to letting me try to clear it if I feel like there's maybe some attachments that aren't of service to them. I mean, I don't know how long it's going to last. I have a feeling that as my boy gets older, he will be maybe a little embarrassed to tell people what I do. Whereas right now he thinks it's so cool. Um, but maybe not. Maybe things will be shifted enough by then that he won't be embarrassed. Um, but yeah, overall, it's been really positive experience with the kids, and we use it together, and we bless things together when we have a big decision to make, and they're just totally on board with it, which is really cool.
I love that. I have so much excitement and hope for the children that are being raised right now by these conscious parents. And like conscious parenting is like a term thrown around a lot, but I really mean like people who have an awareness and awareness of energy and also are willing to share tools because I kind of found when I was starting to awaken and just having it was such an internal experience and I had to really like actively share. I shared as much as I could with my husband to be like, I want you to like be on the same page as me because if I just keep going off on this and you just stay here, I can't have that. I want you to be close to me in beliefs and like understanding of the reality. So I would really get him to watch a lot of the same videos and I'd share as much as I could there and I think that helped. And then I kind of found like I was holding back with my kids
Mhm.
in regards to what I was sharing with them or like instilling them with out of self-judgment, I think, like and shame. It's there's still that witch wound of like, well, I don't what are they gonna say? What are they gonna tell their friends? But yeah, I've also arrived at that place of um, we bless our food before we eat it and my they're starting to understand the importance of energy and like what intention we put into things is really powerful, whether it's our bath or our food. Um, yeah, healing a space, things like that. I think it's so cool that we're sharing these with our kids.
Yeah, and choosing not to hold on to others' energy, right? Like
Yeah.
pulling their power back. I don't know. And
Yeah,
like
oh,
I
go ahead.
use it to protect, we use it to protect ourselves from each other. Like I said, me and my little girl can just go wild together if we suck each other's energy. So learning how to put up a boundary between that, like you're in your own energetic bubble, I'm in mine. We can be in this bubble together, but we're not going to let this affect each other. Like that's been a game changer in my household. And my husband
Wow.
too, I'm like, I'm not going to take his on. I'll be there to support him. But I used to just suck it in
Yeah.
the kids. And I don't do that anymore. And everything is way more regulated. Like, if there's anything to be learned about this work, is just how to protect your energy and not take on others. That's one of the my biggest thing I've taken away with this.
Do you want to walk through what you would do with your kids and me right now? Kind of like,
Yeah, honestly, like you said, it's just intention. And when I first was learning that, I was like, how can that even be real? But it works and it's intention. So I actually have taught my kids how to just imagine a bubble around them.
we do
They
the
can
same.
pick their color, they can, make it as fun as they want, but they just close their eyes, take a deep breath, and we imagine a bubble around ourselves saying, I'm going to stay in my energy and I'm not going to take on anybody else's, or this is protecting me from other people's energy. Just however you even want to word it, right? Like, but it's just this intention. I'm going to imagine myself bubbled up. Or like one of my favorite phrases is I'll walk into a room and I'll just say to myself, not outwardly, but inwardly, like I choose to observe and not absorb. I'm not going to absorb
Mm.
anybody else's energy. I will observe and not absorb. It's like so simple.
It's a great line. PM that.
Yeah. It works so well. So these like little practices and like imagining or using a shower or something to pour over you and just with the intention of this is taking off any energy that may have been attached, like getting rid of any negative or lower energy.
I
That
think
stuff changes your life.
it's amazing because and the thing with energy is that it's instant.
Instant, yeah.
What you're saying with like an intention, like it just works.
Yeah.
Choosing to create that energetic protection or grounding, whatever it is, like it works.
And then if you don't even want to believe in energy, you can just believe in the power of intention, which there's like tons of evidence for that, right? Like intention is everything. You get to, it's self-talk. I choose to be this way. I choose to stand in my power. Like that's energy, but it's also just you get to decide because you're your own person, which is really cool.
That is it. I think that, and that's like an interesting tie-in to like once you understand energy and intention, then you realize like how much in control of your life you are.
Absolutely.
And then you shift from being a victim to being an empowered creator. And I
Absolutely.
think that's what's happening right now. like there's shifts happening. But when people start to learn more about energy, and like with that intention field, the realization I've had recently is how much your current state, you're programming your future with your current state.
Mhm.
And it's like that energy, whatever you're calling in right now, it's being a magnet to what's coming to you. And when you realize that, when you realize your state right now and your ability to attune to what you want to feel, what you ideally want to be embodied in, and then that's bringing you to that channel, that frequency where those things can exist for you. That's how
Yeah,
you shift from being to being a powerful creator from a victim, which I feel like has been kind of like the general state of the world.
absolutely. And what a simple shift.
What
Like
a
it's
simple
not
shift.
simple because our brain is definitely programmed to believe certain ththings about ourselves, but with like practice and intention, that can like pretty easily start to shift, and then you'll feel different in yourself. Just so, yeah.
Um, I want you to talk a bit more about your mediumship. And I read Laura Lynn Jackson's The Light Between Us. She's like a world-renowned medium, and that book was amazing. Highly recommend to anyone. She did like vigorous testing to prove her level of mediumship so that she could be of service to people in this foundation called the Forever Family Foundation, where they basically, she gets to be a medium for people who've lost children. So like
Right.
that's like the focus on it. And so it was because it's such a like sensitive, vulnerable thing. They're like, we can't just have anyone coming in here. We're doing blind tests. We're doing all that. Um, she doesn't do like I don't think she reads her family. So I
Right.
wanted to know, do you read your family? What's a day what's your week like as a medium, as someone who can see dead people? Like are you seeing stuff at the grocery store? Like give us a little insight to your experience.
Right. No, I generally don't. I don't receive. I close my channel. I like very with intention. I open my channel when I want to receive, and I try to close it when I don't want to receive because I don't think it's like sustainable to walk around seeing these energies all the time. But yeah, so I'm a medium, but I'm also just a reader, like a general energetic Akashic Records reader. So um, I do a bit of both during the week, and yeah, I have read my family, and I read my kids when I feel like they might, when I can't understand what's going on with them. And I actually performed, which was wild, but my guides, my high self told me it was him to start with. I performed a grief healing on my husband when he's just lost his mom 2 years ago as well. And I was told in meditation that I was meant to start with him. I kept saying, like, give me someone else's name. I'd rather not start. Like, that means too much to me, right? This is when I was first starting to do healings with the mediumship. So they're called grief healings. And I didn't realize I had this gift until a few months ago, but I can pull in the past loved one and then be a channel for the actual healing and the moving of the grief in the body, which is,
Whoa.
I still don't understand it, probably never will. But so I did one of those on my husband, and the results were the results were incredible. Like I still can't believe what happened, and he can't either. But all we know is that it happened. Like
And it
he was
helped.
sitting with all of this anxiety for a year, like anxiety he'd never experienced, panic attacks. After that healing, it was just gone.
Whoa.
Anxiety, like it had moved.
I do. I think that's so beautiful, and I think that like really goes to speak on the power of energetics. And I think because you said you're like I was in therapy for years, and I think it helps, and I think there's like definitely a need and a service provided there, and there's other things, and I think that yeah, sometimes it takes a major loss for people to seek something out of the ordinary for healing, for understanding, whatever, right? I think it's pretty common for someone to like lose someone close to them and then go to a medium or a psychic to be like, I need something. I need a bit more information.
And that being said, he goes to therapy as well. Like I believe in this, I very firmly believe in this mind, body, spirit approach. Like
Mhm.
you need to take care of your mind as well, and that's therapy. But this energetic healing made the biggest shift for him, which is
What a beautiful gift you gave to him.
amazing. It's amazing. I'm continued to be blown away by it. I still, like I said, don't understand it. Um,
So is that one of your offerings as well, like grief healing?
yeah, it is.
Okay,
I'm
beautiful.
saying that out loud for the first time. My
Right?
website
Yeah.
is almost built and these things are on there, but I haven't come out publicly to say this stuff yet.
Okay.
People in my life.
So are most of your readings online as well?
Yeah, you can do it online. Yeah, in person if you're around this area, but
Isn't that amazing? Like I feel like I've had a mind shift on the power of video call.
mm.
Um, I was very resistant to Zoom experiences, and that was probably like pandemic trauma of being like forced to use it and forced to accept that as a reality. But I've come around to be like, oh no, like we are really energetically meeting here, regardless of where you're physically, because energy is instant. Energy is outside of space and time.
Yeah, it's
That's
bizarre.
that's it.
That's
Um,
it.
what do you think your mission on Earth is?
Oh my gosh. I was told by a reader that my mission on earth is to heal generational trauma. And when she said that, I was like, no. that's, that's too big.
Like,
But like I can sort of see that. I've been breaking many cycles and
ah,
before I even got into this work by seeking therapy and choosing to move through my grief instead of holding it all inside. But now even more so, I'm helping other people do the same, which is really cool.
heal, yeah. I don't say hell yeah. How do you feel about the word priestess? Have you heard it?
Oh, I've heard it. Um, I think I have a witch wound around that because I love the word and I love what it represents, but I have a hard time saying it. I have a hard time grounding it here. I have a hard time when other people call themselves a priestess, I get a little cringe, even though
You probably are.
maybe like that's that witch wound you're talking about. This stuff is cringy sometimes in
Is
this
it? Yeah.
world and society for me.
Because it's been eliminated. It
Yeah,
was
I mean,
eliminated, and then people were threatened by death
absolutely.
for hundreds of years. Like it's very close to our lineage. How real that is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've seen there's accounts that I follow that are priestess accounts, and sometimes I'll be like, does the think about what you feel when you hear the word priestess. And if it causes any kind of like reaction, like what's there, follow that. Like that means something. There is a ping there, and I 100% still also feel the like yeah, cringe, shame, um, kind of like this block of possibility for it being a possible career,
Yeah.
um, title, whatever. Like it just, but then it's like it keeps coming to us. I know
Yeah.
that. I felt like two things. I definitely feel like you are an ancient witch from like England and Ireland or something. And I have that in me too. I actually just ordered. Oh, it just arrived. It's called I can't remember the title, but it's along the lines of like, oh, maybe a hypnotist's journey to Avalon, and it's
Okay.
about the time of, I think, witches and Avalon and all that. Freaking excited to read it. Sarah Breskman Cosme, she is a QHHT hypnotist. and her books have like ripped me open. Uh, just every single chapter is enough to shake you out of this reality, really.
And you're being shaken by that stuff because it resonates with you, which means
Yeah.
you're a witch in a past life too. Like I definitely believe in this stuff, and I've seen those past lives. I've witnessed them.
Your past lives.
Yes, and for other women.
Tell us a bit about that. Like, what does it mean you've seen it? Describe it. Love it.
Um, I'm just recently learning that I have another healing to offer, and my mentor and I went, into that space together, into the Akashic Records space together, and saw where it comes from. And it's so ancient, and it's witch times, it's goddess era. Which that's like that was all very unbelievable to me a couple years ago, and I'm still like, oh my gosh, like how do I ground this? But yeah, actually the very first time I was journeyed into a past life, I saw myself as like someone so long ago, as a matriarch, as a person. I was with like, it was like a tented area with furs, um and there was just this energy of me being like the matriarch, and there was babies all around. It's like kind of goddess-esque energy.
Beautiful.
And I remember when we were sharing this in circle, I just felt like so embarrassed. And I was like, did I just make this up? But then, like, I was expecting other women to have similar things, and nobody had a similar thing to me. And I was like, and that stuff kind of just got me like even more curious about this. Like, so what does that mean if I'm seeing this as a past life? What does that mean? Who am I? Who was I? It's really cool.
It's so cool. And
And like I've said, I didn't believe in any of this stuff 2.5 years ago. But if I think back on it, man, I've always loved witches. I always thought I wanted a black cat to be like a witch. Like, I mean, that's pretty cliche, but seriously, I always wanted a
there's
black
something
cat.
there. There's something there. Was very close to getting a cat last year.
Yeah. I used to play with the Ouija board all the time when I was way too young, like
Oh,
way too young. So I've always been like very interested in the metaphysical. And we used to joke that I was a psychic, me and my husband, for years, because I would make these predictions that seemed, but like still my logic was like, no way, there's no way, right? But then you start witnessing these things, and yeah, like you said, it just awakens you to something totally, which is really beautiful, because we can get really stuck in our humanness and our to do.
totally. That's a good way of putting it. Stuck in humanness.
Yeah.
Because if you're in just that physical, it's like, well, yeah, that's a limited container. That's why I was talking about the Seth book, because Seth describes our physical senses as like limiting senses.
Yeah.
Because if that's all we're relying on, we are limited to the experience around us. But if you start to open your mind and practice meditation, like going into regressive states, healing
Even
work,
just
all these things,
present.
yeah, like you start to tune into what else is there. Uh, yeah, that is wild. My dad's grandmother had powers and told the whole family not to use the Ouija board, because I think there were kids using it. Like there were 10, 11-year-olds using it, and you're using it irresponsibly. And if you do that, you can bring in stuff that you don't want. And I think that was her whole thing. So I have not tried a Ouija board out of that fear and kind of respect for her, but it pings at me like I want to, and I feel like I can do it from a place of very intentional, safe, protected kind of ways. Do you want to talk a bit more about your Ouija board experiences? Anything there?
Oh, that's funny. I don't remember. I just remember being enthralled by it. I was little. I would probably be 8 when I was interested in it, and like getting friends to do it with me. I mean, I wasn't doing it from a responsible place, obviously. But
That's the trick.
and I don't remember anything coming from it other than it moved, and that was insanely exciting when I was a little kid. I guess I've never really been afraid of those things.
Love that. I agree with you on the like those little things that you've kind of like always thought, or like little things in the background but didn't label it as intuition or whatever. Like it wasn't until TikTok this woman was describing her experience as a clairaudient, and I was like, oh shit, I have all those things. No one's gonna validate it for you. You're not gonna go to school and they're gonna ask you, hey, who's doing this? Who's hearing this? Like none. It's such a
No.
like inward personal journey that you have to self-validate through
One
all.
that you have to live with before you even know what's going on. So you're just kind of like, this is who I am. I like maybe hear things or see, like, you just chalk it up to like, I have a big imagination or
Yes,
whatever
yes,
else until you realize, oh, this is a real thing I'm receiving.
yes.
I'm
You
receiving.
rationalize it. I want to know more about the Akashic Record stuff. I actually remember being like 13 years old, being like, I'm pretty sure there's a library and we'll be able to access any point of our, like, I just had this like
Oh,
imagination that I thought that I'm like, I'm sure it exists. I know there's a library. I know there's a way of accessing everything that's ever happened. And I was
wow,
just like, I
that's
hope
very
that's there
intuitive.
when I die. Yeah, but I was 13 and just was like, this is my imagination. But now when you look back, you're like, oh no, I was getting information.
Yeah. Well, and I needed a validation for that too, because when I first went up there, it is like, in fact, I see it as like a huge building with columns, and you walk in and it's a library and you have access to anybody's room. And my first experience was that I got up there and I saw that. And then I was listening to a podcast a few days later, and she described the records room, and she was like, yeah, I feel it. It's like kind of like a White Housey building with the big columns. I was like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like, that makes me feel like not only validated, but this has to be a real thing if other people are seeing it the exact same way. Um, so that's like, I need, and I continue to need validation that this stuff is real. But yeah, there is a library, and you can go into any person's records room with permission. I mean, I think you need to be ethical about it, and you don't go into somebody's records room without them knowing about it, because that's pretty personal. That's like, you can literally
The
receive,
most personal.
yeah, that's the most personal. You're seeing into that soul, right? Um, and everybody's room looks different for me based on who they are and their personality, which kind of gives me indicators of who they are, which is really cool. Some people's rooms aren't even rooms, they're like oceans. Some people's rooms are, mine's a very clear old school library with like the dust coming in the sunbeams.
Yes.
Is so interesting because every time I go up there, it looks the same. And it's like a tall library with two chairs, and but then yeah, you just ask and you go up there and ask, and
Do you
it's,
see a guardian of the information when you're there?
yeah, when I first started out, yeah, you go into the library, you walk up the stairs, and there's somebody there to give you a key.
Wow. And has that changed? Like, was it always the same person or being?
For me, it's always the same person. It's actually my high self. For other people, it's sometimes there's like weird blue energies that I don't understand. Like, it's not always, it's a different guardian for everybody's energy.
Okay.
So, but then then I use this space up there. It's just called the Akashic healing space, which I see it as separate from the building, and I see it as like a meadow of flowers, and that's where I take people for healings.
Mm, that's
So it's like the
beautiful.
wisdom of the Akashic records, but you're not in their specific library, if that makes sense. I know it's
Yeah.
all a bit wild, but
Oh no, but I'm picking it up. I'm right there with
yeah.
you. I'm trying to remember where I first like heard about Akashic Records, and I can't think of the original source. I've been on a general tear of getting as much information as I can, audiobooks, reading books, podcasts, TikTok. Um, yeah, who are some of your sources? And also, are you able to like highlight slash mention your mentor? Like, is she someone that has like an Instagram that people can
Yeah,
connect with, or
Lisa,
how do
and
you
she
spell it?
LisaRae. I think that's what her handle is.
Okay.
She's amazing. She's been my greatest source of information. But yeah, I've listened to podcasts and read books, and I bought the Akashic Records book that teaches you how to go up there, but I didn't read
Just the energy, I talk
it.
about like the energy of the books. I haven't read it, but the energy of the book.
Again, like I said, I'm very fortunate, and it did come really easily to me. So I
So
didn't.
did you do it in meditation? Like tell me what does it look like for you when you do access the Akashic records?
Yeah, I definitely have a ritual of breathing and, grounding, protecting myself, and then I just set intention to go up there. Yeah. Some people use a prayer. Like there's a book, the Akashic Records, the lady who wrote it. There's a prayer to access them. So you say the prayer and then you're up there, but I've just set intention and my energy goes up there.
And when you go up, are you going up with a question?
Generally, but sometimes my mentor told me that it's just like it's healing for your energy to even just to sit up there.
Mm, it's nice to hear this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dabble.
Good.
Dabble with the Akashic records. Oh
I
my
can
God.
help guide you up there.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
um so I want to kind of go back to you said your awakening started 2.5 years ago. Was there something that like happened that caused that initial floodgate?
No particular event. My mother-in-law died after,
Hmm.
or oh, maybe before, like 6 months before. No, like I said, I just felt called to get my own reading one day, and that was what catapulted me into this. It was like she saw me, and I was like, okay, this stuff, there's
And
something
then
to
the
it.
gift came after you accessed the Akashic records.
Oh, this came after?
I'm
Sorry.
saying, did your gifts of like mediumship come after that reading?
That's when my gifts started to show up and I had to learn how to handle them. Yeah, that's when I started having those visions shortly after that. And then I just got interested. So I took a course with my mentor to like, if this is happening to me, I really have to understand it and be careful about it because it's not something to mess around with. Awakening and coming into some of these gifts, it's not just sunshine and rainbows.
100, not all of
What
them.
it showed up for me as actually like some very dark visions that had to do with my family. So learning
Scary.
how to protect yourself, learning how to do it right, because energy is, as you know, there can be lower energies, right?
Yeah. I was
And it's
gonna,
like
one of my
learning
questions
how to
was
decipher. You have to decipher what's right, what's good, and what's not, right? It's hard.
percent.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely like a responsibility around it that is real. And so one of my questions for you was, what advice do you have for people who are kind of early on or about to experience this kind of opening and more people are coming into
Yeah.
that expansion? What's your advice for them?
My biggest advice is learning how to protect your energy, protect your space, and then discernment, like learning how to discern what's in your highest good and what's not. Because
What kind of resources, honestly, like where should they go? Because if they're like, okay, protect my energy, what information do I need to find to do that?
good question. I just learned through my mentor. I just learned
Okay.
it's just intention. It's like, you and I went through a little thing before we came on here of breath, and it's like grounding your energy down to Mother Earth, and then, taking this light from above and bathing yourself in it, protecting yourself, standing, learning how to, learning what's your energy and what's not. Like the basics of this stuff is learning about your energy. Um, and how you feel when you're in your own energy and when you're taking on others.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice. It's like start with learning how to protect, clear, and know which energy is yours and what's not.
That's really good advice. I really hope this conversation helps people and gives clarity and validation to what they might be experiencing or may experience in the future. I want to also know what kind of offerings or like what are some I don't like using the word goals much anymore. I used to be like a really big like Lululemon goal person. I've moved away from that and done more intention based kind of, and like my vision board. But what do you see kind of down the pipeline for you and your path and your offerings? What are you hoping to bring into this reality?
Um, I've tried to just stay pretty present with it and let it come as it comes.
Path
And
that unfolds as you walk it.
yeah, so I see myself doing more like courses or containers like I was doing because that Sacred Femme container was so fun. And so it had a big impact on these women, I think. And as it was over, I missed it. So I think there's more of that to come. Like I said, I'm learning about this new healing that I can offer to women, probably exclusively. It's more of the divine feminine stuff, which is really cool, but I'm not going to say anything about it yet because I'm still sitting with it.
Mm.
Yeah, I would just like to continue doing what I'm doing. Like I'm doing a house clearing tonight, and that's going to be really fun because that's really cool to see the energy in the house and how it affects people. And so just continue on. I'm just going to see what unfolds because it seems to be ever evolving, and I'm always learning, and I'm always, trying to sit with what's coming through for myself too.
I think that's so present of you. And I think the more that you build a relationship with spirit, the more trust you have in kind of living that way as well.
Absolutely.
And then like tuning your present frequency and like letting it buck, kind of like let's see what unfolds, let's see what comes in, let's see what. And I resonate with you on that so much. I resonate with so much about what you put out. And I got to have a glimpse of that container, but I feel like you're going to continue to create more of that, more good. I do feel like we have this mission of helping women, and when I say helping women, it's like helping them remember that they're the divine feminine, and the more divine feminine there is, the easier this transition will be. And our earth has just come to a point where it has to transition and shift the energies. So that's what we're witnessing. And if anyone feels that like priestess ping, I think that the core of it is like you've come back here in this lifetime to help guide and light the way. And
Absolutely.
so here we are.
Yeah. So what are your new offerings? I'm excited to do you sent me your Love Your Period masterclass.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of loving my period, and I think it's so tied into the divine feminine because it's like this. It's almost like this like secret puzzle piece that I feel like once if you can love your period, if you can understand and love your cycle, well then you're going to be living in harmony with your nature, and then when you live in harmony with your nature, you are aligned. You're more aligned throughout your cycle if you can understand what's going on. And then when you're more aligned, then you can be in a higher vibration. And if you're in a higher vibration, your intuition is doing better. And then you're like getting the downloads of, oh, I'm meant to lead women. So my next offering that's on the table is I have a women's circle January 10th. And my best friend and I co-host these circles. This will be our second public one in person. I look forward to having, I think I would like to do a regular virtual circle online so that anyone anywhere can tune in, tap in, um, and more in-person events too. I hopefully have one coming with the Calgary Farmers Market that I'll be working with, but more to come on that.
Yeah.
And yeah, on my Instagram is the best way to follow what's going on. Do you want to mention your Instagram too?
Yeah, my Instagram is the best way to follow what's going on too. And like I said, my website should be done any day now, just
Okay.
wait for those. But yeah, rites and rituals, but spelled RIGHTS. Rites and
Love that.
rituals.
I'm also writing a book about periods for my daughters.
That's amazing.
Yeah, changing the story. Gotta write it.
That's interesting then you said the how synchronistic it's been that we kind of met, because I've really struggled with my period, with my cycle for especially the last 2.5 years, which is interesting.
Mm.
So I've been reading all the books and learning how to love my period too. That's why I wanted to watch your masterclass, because I'm even drinking tea like that I made for my cycle, for the time of my cycle right now, because
Bless.
trying to learn, learning how to love it and
What'd
embrace.
you put in that tea? Share it. Share it with the people.
Oh my gosh, it's red raspberry leaf, rose hips, vitex, and
Right.
dandelion root. And it's tailored for my phase I'm in right now. I've been a little bit of a kitchen witch lately with these herbs, trying to ease my women's issues. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm excited.
Lavender is also good. Lavender helps with pain and it relaxes too. I can throw lavender on anything any day, but like it's really good. Yeah. So.
Very cool. Yeah, no, this has been wonderful.
Yeah, I feel like we've had such a nice juicy time. Thank you so much for making space and opening up this conversation and being vulnerable. There's a lot of vulnerable things we're sharing, conversations that are uh, traditionally not had. Like these are conversations that people don't have or have behind closed doors. So I credit both of us for actively, consciously choosing to be brave and share it, because I do see it as nourishment. I see this fully as a nourishing conversation for ourselves, but for anyone who is like the mothers that are starting to awaken, the women who are starting to awaken, and it can be scary. It can be scary because you question everything and then you question your own reality. So just know that wherever you're at on this path, that you can always access that kind of protection then just by your intention. I love that idea that you have a mentor, that you have someone who's a few steps ahead of you. They don't have to be this like master, but like find someone who's a couple steps ahead of you who you can access for wisdom, guidance, support. I like that you shared Lisa Ray. I'm gonna check her out for sure.
She's great.
And yeah, I hope that I bet you and I will have some sort of collaboration, or I hope to meet you in person as well. But
Yeah, for sure.
I want to end this call with just so much gratitude, and yeah,
Back
I
at
I'm gonna end this. Oh yeah, let's do the follow-up one more time. Thank you for listening to The Multidimensional Mother. You can find me on Alex Troniak at Alex Troniak on Instagram. And yeah, sending you blessings. Hope you have a beautiful day. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.